This is Nikita Sanches at Rock City Eatery, and this is Theorematic.
If we could just touch bases on just why even get into wanting to be a chef, not even, just wanting to cook, period. Like, what drew you to just wanting to be a cook?
All right, so I would say originally when I started getting into the culinary field, I was a young immigrant boy, and my mom, she was serving tables at like a assisted living kind of place, and I needed a summer job when I was 14, and she kind of brought me in to kind of like bust tables and whatnot, get a little cash or whatnot, help out the family. And then maybe after about 6-7 months, I kind of started wanting to wander into the kitchen and help out the guys that were like behind the scenes making all the magic happen. And they always needed help. And it was just a fun environment to be in because it was very inclusive. And it just kind of started there. It's just a job or just like a hangout kind of thing. And as I got older, I kind of started realizing I'm kind of good at this. I'm developing a passion for it, I'm good at it. And from that point on, that's when I started seriously thinking about it. And eventually I did start watching like cooking shows and then the Anthony Bourdain show, the No Reservations, and just seeing the way he appreciated different cultures, the way he respected the culinary professionals in the world. It just I just developed so much love and respect for him that I always wanted to meet him. I always thought of him as my mentor because, I never had anyone I never really worked under anyone famous or out there on the food scene.
Right, so did your when you was learning how to cook, did that take you to other places, or was it mostly in a confined area, or you was all over the place?
To be honest with you, watching that show, that kind of would just transport me to the places that he was at. I could almost taste the flavors that he was describing or what he was having. And to be honest with you, I lived in Russia till I was about 12 years old, and over there, your world studies are very important. So you learn about geography, the culture, the history, and you kind of pick up on some of the ingredients. So you kind of have this mental database of flavors in a way. So when someone who's very articulate can kind of describe them, you can kind of put it together in your mind and kind of envision that flavor profile. And I think that was one of the more influential things on me because he kind of taught me how to cook this out there food, so to speak. And yeah, it's just kind of essentially helped me develop my own little global flavor profile.
From just wanting to be a chef or just being intrigued by the Anthony Bourdain and other cooking shows, what was the next step? You said, I see people out here actually, making a living off of it. Was it more so the intrigue of going different places and cooking for different people, or was it something that you really wanted to have your own restaurant and start from there?
I'd say I just wanted to I kind of started doing it for me. I just wanted to see can I make something that tastes out there and amazing, something that's I've never actually put in my mouth and tasted, something I could go to an Asian market and pick up the ingredients that look weird to some people or whatnot and work with them and create the flavor profile that represents that culture. And like I said, watching him kind of like taught me what ingredients I should be using and whatnot. So originally I'd say I started doing it for myself just to kind of like see if I could do it.
Right.
And then from that point on, I would say years later, I was like, you know what, I kind of done wanting to do like working for this corporate organization where it's like you have a very small frame.
Okay, so you started off, like working with different restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so then it's kind of like, I kind of want to do my own thing. So I started looking to maybe get an investor or two and open up a real place, but that never really took off. So I kind of started doing, like when I had the concept for a restaurant, I had dessert ideas as well, which were pies. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and like at least practice that, see if I can get good feedback from just these pies or whatnot. So I started doing them at a local artist market, and I got amazing feedback, kind of like put me out there like on a Detroit culinary map at that time.
What were the like the recipes for the pies? Was that like a family recipe, or that's something you just coming up from scratch?
I think the pies that really truly represent me as a culinary professional is the fact that I think traditional pies are cool. Like there's a lot of history behind them. There's a lot of like family history being passed down from one generation to the next.
Right.
But to me it was like, all right, why do something that's been done for a very, very, very long time without having access to some of the technology, ingredients, whatever, and try to do a new spin on it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna brainstorm this and do my own version of it. So I envisioned like this thing where it's like you have like kind of like a unique, flavorful crust, because traditionally pies are like just it's some sort of a fat, like a lard or a butter and flour, So it's kind of like very basic, and the ingredients are like your like one ingredient pie, like blueberry or apple or whatnot, and between this crust. So like
sometimes they might mix like the cherry and like an apple or something like that, but it's mostly
it's very straightforward. It's very basic. So I was like, why not jazz it up? Why not add like more flavor to the crust? Why not use unique ingredients? Why not like just jazz it up, like take it to the next level? So that's how that started. So I started thinking about it, because I'm like, I like the streusel topping on like bakes or whatever, and I was like, why don't I try to incorporate that into a pie crust? So it's like a hybrid. And then why not use several ingredients as a filling? Like, I mean, it's a super trendy flavor now, or maybe even not even trendy anymore, but like a decade ago it was super trendy, like caramel apple or like salted caramel apple. So I was like, you know what, why not start doing something like that? So that was the one pie that people still love to this day. And I started selling it at this market, and just people loved it because it was unique and different. And
were they starting to call you like the pie guy or something like that?
Pie guy. And the way that started was just, I was at this market and I was friendly with all the vendors. Like a lot of them are still my friends. And people would ask them, is there any food out here? And they're like, oh yeah, go see the pie guy over there on the other side. So just kind of like stuck around.
Right.
So the pie guy.
And then from there, I mean, you probably got to the point where you're like, pies are good, but I really want to like cook now. Like, was that the thing, or was it something you was like, maybe I can just do the pies and it just be my thing? Like, I'd be known for pies, get a bakery, and just go from there.
Yeah. So the pies were always kind of like just the dessert element of like this bigger concept, and so after doing that for a couple of years at the market, I was like, you know what, there's enough awareness of my existence. Why not take it to the next level?
Right.
And one of my fellow vendors was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna move my operation to Hamtramck, which is like a little town inside of a town. So it's inside of Detroit.
Right.
And he was like, I'm getting a space there, and why don't you join me? Like, why not open up your own spot in Hamtramck? And I was like, all right, you know what? I've never really been there. Let me go scoop it out. Let me see what's out there. And I did, and I fell in love with it because it was like very. It felt urban, but not like abandoned. It was like.
Yeah, it has like a town feel to it.
It
like,
does.
Like a neighborhood town feel. A lot of the buildings are connected. Yep. You know what I mean? So it has that feel.
Yeah, it has like a very tight community also,
Right.
which I learned once I opened up a restaurant there. And so I was like, you know what, I'm into it. And I found the space, kind of financed it all myself with the help of my family and my wife's family. And we did it in a shoestring budget. I did most of the construction work with my dad and I, and just kind of did it. And it kind of just launched the whole thing to the next level because we were the first restaurant to start this super casual concept where it's like you can show up wearing a tank top and some flip-flops, but the style and quality of food that you're going to get is going to be fine dining.
Right.
But in a very visual, very casual
Relaxed
setting.
setting. So what year is that? Like right around what time?
That would be, we're probably looking at 2014, 2015.
Okay.
So that was like before you Seldon Standards, before Chartreuse, and all those guys I eventually became friends with because they were my first customers.
Right.
Because they went into something that they haven't experienced before here locally, and I'm sure to a certain extent they'll admit that it was very influential for them and the way they approach their future restaurants and how they develop menus and things like that.
So with the move, I mean the move was more so just for like space-wise or just to reach a different audience?
It was both. The move was to make our space bigger because our space was tiny in Hamtramck. It was also to get into a wider market because there's a lot more businesses here. There's a lot more young professionals.
Foot traffic.
Right. Exactly. All those things. So it was. We moved here with an expectation to just dive into an even deeper pool, so to speak, and appeal to a wider group of people.
So what's like your favorite thing to cook, and what do you want to put on the menu that you've been kind of holding back?
I would say kind of what got us out there a lot was I wanted to do a lot of vegetable forward dishes that are not crappy, because people usually, I hate vegetables because they're like from their childhood, they're like steamed or whatever. So like for me, it was always important to like treat each ingredient, even a vegetable, with respect and just kind of like highlight what's so good about it.
Right.
So that's how that's why a lot of our menu is very vegetable forward. And so to me vegetables, like if they're roasted or pan seared, like they don't get mushy, but they develop flavor that normally, like if you boil them or steam them, just kind of like takes away from the vegetable. And if you add like some unique flavors to it, it just takes it to another level. It makes it even like almost like meaty in a way. It like develops like texture and flavor, and I love cooking vegetables. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't share my passion for it because they kind of like had a lifelong experience of like not having good stuff. So on the other hand, we are pretty meat heavy. So we're actually starting to, I'm experimenting with like smoking meats and stuff and doing barbecue. So that's our next step in the next couple of weeks. Doing some barbecue stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it because everyone loves it.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to find people that are like, I hate barbecue. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
people don't really know how much it takes to keep a restaurant, moving. Some people think once you get a restaurant, you're the owner, you're the chef, you drive, big house,
Rolling
you're making
in dough,
money.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You taking these trips to the market, just grab whatever food you want. You know what I mean? So what does it take to really keep a restaurant going?
So, to be honest with you, running a restaurant is like super grueling, unless like you're backed by a lot of money. Now, let's say you have like a PR company that pays like publications to write nice things about you and things like that. If you're just kind of like doing it from scratch, everything that you're doing is yourself. It's a little daunting because you have to take care of so many staff members. You have to pay rent. You have to pay utilities. You pay for food. So it's like you're constantly running numbers in your head. So it's like you look at your bank account and you're like, okay. And that's the thing. We're not the busiest restaurant. I'm sure like restaurants who have a lot of money, they don't operate the same way. But for me, it's like a constant grind. Like, how much money do I have? This is what I have to work with. What kind of liquor can I order? What kind of wine and beer can I order? Which stores should I go in? Like how much of whatever I should buy just to make sure like
nothing is wasted at the end of the week or whatever.
Yeah,
day,
exactly.
Or day.
So it's like everything's super tight and you pay attention to every little thing. And so for me, like I wake up early in the morning, I go shopping, I come in here, I prep. On the days that I know are gonna be slower, I do go home, but like a lot of days I do stay here and serve the food as well and just like keep an eye on things. So it's like, so you're essentially like the shopping guy, the delivery guy, the dish doing guy, the prep guy, the cook guy, the expo guy. And it's just like, it gets overwhelming sometimes because like you literally commit your every waking moment to your business, and when you get home, all you want to do is just sleep because you're so exhausted, and then it kicks in again the next day. So it's a labor of love. If you don't love it and you're not 100% committed to it, don't do it because it's a lot of work.